Morning, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and start out with a prayer, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our game show. But first of all, I'd like to say a prayer, so if everybody join in with me. Father, we've been talking at my church about being missionaries, and Father, a lot of times we don't understand as Christians that we don't have to go somewhere to be a missionary. We don't have to travel to a foreign land. And we also don't need to be someone that just thinks that way and says, well, we pay someone to go somewhere and then we just watch. It's anywhere that we are, Father, we are missionaries for you. And anywhere that we are, people are watching us. And we're witnesses for you and we're ambassadors for you. So anywhere, once we say and proclaim we're Christians, people are going to watch us. People are going to listen to us. And most of all, they're going to hear that we love Jesus. So, Father, in our daily lives, let's just make sure that people do know that in one way or another, that they know who we put our hope in, who we put our faith in. And that's your Son who taught us obedience and love and faith through His suffering and His death. So, Father, thank you so much for this time today. We always enjoy this, and also maybe somebody can learn something that will help them out there in the field, or most importantly, keep them safe and get them home. So, all of these things I ask and I say, according to the will of the one who paid it all, my brother, Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another session, actually the last of What's Wrong with That Meter. Kind of bittersweet there, JP, isn't it? Kind of the last one. And how many have we done now? 50.
Webinars total, this would be 62.
No, I meant just the shows. It feels like 50-something, yeah. Yeah, they do.
This is the third.
I think it may just be this hair, and I'm getting hot under here. I don't know. Maybe it's cooking my brain. But, yeah, it's a little bittersweet, but I have to say I really enjoyed it. We've had some fantastic folks on here. And so how's the family, JP?
Doing well, Art.
Good. Very good. And as always, we've got two of our regular guests on here, but then we've got another special guest this morning I'll introduce. But first of all, you know him, you love him. We call him the Professor, Ray Gore. How you doing, Ray?
Fine, Art.
Oh, fine art. I like that. That's pretty good. Leave the jokes to me, Ray. All right. And we've got our duct tape WD-40 engineer from Clemson University, and he's just a tiger from a different Linus, if you know what I mean. LSU, Clemson, baby, go. So here's Phil Fishbach. How we doing, Phil?
Hey, I'm good, Art. How you doing? I want you to know right away that I've been studying pretty hard since the last show. I think I'm going to be able to get at least 2 of these questions.
Well, then you certainly have been putting in the time.
I've been putting in the time. And I do have the only 2 tools you ever need, WD and duct tape.
That's it. That's it. So 2 tools and 2 answers. It matches up. I like it. And now our guest. I don't even know where to start with this gentleman. He's from L.A., Lower Alabama. And he's from Baldwin County, EMC. He's been a friend of ours, of the company, for a long, long time. You know him, you love him, and I especially do. This is a good friend of mine, Joe Campbell. How are we doing this morning, Joe?
Doing good, Clarence. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So you ready to answer the questions? I think this is right up your alley there, Joe.
I'm ready to smoke this question.
Woo! Oh, my goodness. I heard that loud thud, and I think the gauntlet was dropped. That's all I'm going to say.
Down.
I'm telling you, I think I heard all the way from Alabama, I heard that thud.
That's right.
What's
All
going
right.
to win, Art?
Oh, well, as always, there's a beautiful trip to sunny Barbados in this for you. So, glad you asked, right? So, sunny Barbados. So, try to get as many of these questions right as you can, Joe, because like I said, it's beautiful Barbados this time of year. Beautiful. And by the way, I don't know if you guys heard the big news story about that electrocution, where they had to electrocute those guys, but evidently they had a chemist, a doctor, and an electrical engineer that they just, did you hear about that? They electrocuted over in Texas? Yeah. So evidently they did it all on the same day, and of course they lead the chemist in there first, and he sits down. They said, you got anything to say before we do this? And he said, no, just hurry up and get it over with. Well, when they pulled the switch, nothing happened, a little fizzing and nothing happened. So, you know, that's the law. When that happens, you get free. So they turned him loose. So then they brought in the doctor, and they said, they sat him down and hooked him up, and they said, hey, you got anything to say before we do this? He says, no, just hurry up and get this over with. Well, the same thing. Pulled the switch and nothing happened. So he got to go free. Well, they sit down the electrical engineer, and they ask him, hey, you got anything to say before we do this? He goes,
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, if you'll switch that red and blue wire over there, I think you'll fix this thing. Right. You know how those engineers are. Sometimes they got lots of brains, but not much common sense. Just saying, I'm just saying.
I'm just agreeing.
I know, and and Clemson over here is nodding his head as hard as that almost flew off. I'm just going to say.
That's right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get this thing started. And first of all, we got a little housekeeping to do, so let's get through it, JP. All right, we got upcoming schedule here. And, of course, today's what's wrong with that meter. But now coming up March 2nd, March 9th, March 16th, and March 23rd, we got a brand new thing we're doing here at Powermetrix. Pretty proud of it. And you can see we've got other industries now and other manufacturers are going to come in here and they're going to do presentations because we've got such a great audience out there. So we're going to let them get on there. And I think JP's told me you can go ahead and register right at the bottom of the page, right, JP?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you can go ahead and register up. So we've got Terry Chandler from Power Quality, Inc., and he's actually going to tell us how they do things over in Australia. Aren't they upside down over there, JP? Aren't they on the wrong hemisphere or something like that?
Depends on where you're standing. According to them, we're upside down.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a mind blower. Okay. But yeah, and I would say probably maybe they swap the voltage and the current on which side of it is on the in the can because, like I said, they're upside down there. And then March 9th, we've got Joe Childs of Electrical Resources. He is a Schneider meter guru, so he's going to be talking to us. And then Nick Candler is with Durham Company on March 16th, so he's going to talk to us about Durham products. And then March 23rd, we've got spring break. I know a lot of folks are going to be going on spring break at that time, so we're going to go ahead and have a little break there, and then we're going to start right back in. But yeah, this is going to be really great if you want to go ahead and register up. This is going to give you a chance to see what some of the other folks are doing out there in the industry. And we're going to have some live parts to it, so don't worry. It's not going to be just a PowerPoint presentation. We're going to have some live stuff we'll jump off into. But this gives folks a chance to show you what's going on new and some improvements and what's going on in other products in the industry that affect us, okay? So we like it, and we're pretty proud of it. So be sure and register for that, all right? So let's go ahead and get this thing going. My goodness, that's scary. Let's move on. Okay, what's wrong with that meter? Question number 1. The inventor in favor of using AC power for distribution was A. Thomas Jefferson, B. Nikola Tesla, C. Albert Einstein, and D. Ray Gore.
I got this one, John.
All right. What do you think there, Joe?
You know, Edison and Tesla, they're right along the same time frame, but I won't go with B, Tesla.
Well, I'm just going to say one thing about that. If Ray Gore's name is up there, I'm saying Ray Gore. So, because when I'm out in the middle of Timbuktu and mosquitoes are swarming around my head and the kid's just looking at me like it doesn't know what's going on, who do you think I call? Tesla? Einstein? Edison? No, I call Ray Gore. Well, that question is wrong.
That one threw me off, 'cause
That is wrong.
I was with you, Art. I thought it was Ray Gore.
Yep, in my book it's Ray Gore. But actually, for the trip to Barbados, Joe is right with Nikola Tesla. Question number 2. The nameplate on an electromechanical meter states 120 volts. How should we set up our phantom load test voltage? Ooh, 120 volts, 50 volts, 69 volts, or 240 volts. What would you set the voltage up for on that one?
I'm going to go C.
I go
Ooh.
with this one.
What
Oh.
you got, Joe?
That's right, you know.
All right, Joe, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with A.
120 volts.
C.
Ray says C. 69 volts.
Yeah, because phase to phase, 69 volts on a phantom load setup is 120 volts.
All right, so Ray's saying that, could y'all hear that, what Ray said?
Yes.
Ray said phase to phase, you got 69 volts, so it'd be 120 volts. Everybody get that? That was a good one. I like that question. So you agree with him, Joe?
Yeah. I was too quick on the gun. But
That's
Too
right.
quick on the
A
gun.
little too quick with the old pistol trigger. That's all right.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Question number 3.
All right, I'm getting there. There we go.
I'm just going to go ahead and say Ray Gore right now.
Yeah. That'd be me. Oh, well, by the way, we haven't covered this yet. Oh, whoa, 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 JP. Follow the talent. Follow the host here, buddy.
Follow the talent.
Follow the talent. Joe, got a question for you. What is going to be your clicker noise? I mean, everyone's had a clicker noise. What's your clicker noise?
Have we lost you, Joe?
No,
No, he's right there.
he's right there. We-
No, can you go buzz? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we like that.
There
All
it
right, we
is.
got that.
Buzz it is.
Because we got Buzz, we got dogs barking over here, and then we got Hairball over here. So I've learned these two guys, but I haven't learned yours yet. All right. If you have a metering question that you can't solve, you can A, pack it up for the day.
I'm
B,
all right.
just replace the meter. C, pretend this never happened. Or D, call Ray Gore.
Those are some tough choices, Art.
Ah. What you thinking?
Well, if you had asked me this many, many years ago, I would have picked A.
Just pack it up for the day.
But when many years ago, I met Ray Gore, and so today, I call Ray.
You know what? You know my answer because I always say if Ray Gore's up there, I say Ray Gore. I'm going with Ray Gore.
I'm
Yeah,
going
I
with
just
Ray
found
Gore,
out
too.
this morning, folks, that Ray and Joe met many, many, many years ago at the Mid-South Meter School up here. They were both students sitting in class together. How about that? Kind of cool. So yeah,
It's
I'm
hard to
definitely.
imagine either one of them were ever in class, isn't it, Art?
No, I can imagine teaching the class, but I just can't imagine them sitting in the class. I don't know about all that. But, I mean, that's the story they're telling, so I'm going to go with it. So here's a question. When y'all were sitting in class, who saw the other one sleeping? No, never mind. You don't have to answer
one
that.
was sleeping.
No, I see how it is. They're going to cover for one
Those
another.
classes.
Joe
Yeah.
should have taught the class.
Joe's going to say that Ray wasn't sleeping, and Ray's going to say Joe wasn't sleeping.
Well, I'm
So-
kind of wondering if maybe Joe was teaching the class and Ray was checking his answers.
Is
that what was going on?
That's
right
what
there?
was going on.
Is that what
Yeah.
was going on? All right. We good?
I hope so. Having audio issues.
Having audio issues. I've probably, with this voice, blown a mic or something. We good now?
We're good.
Good.
Okay.
Question number 4. Which of these is a transformer rated meter? Ooh. 12S, 2S, 16S, or 9S?
Did Joe just buzz?
I buzz.
Uh-oh.
All right. I was just about to bark, but if he buzzed.
Actually, I dropped the mic. I thought there was a short or something in it. Okay. What do you got there, Joe?
I got D, a 9S.
That's right.
I'm
pretty
thinking
sure
you're
he's
right.
right on that one.
I think you're right on that one, Joe. The 9S is the transformer rated meter, and all of the others are self-contained. The 12, the 2, and the 16 are self-contained meters. Nice job. Question number 5. A current that lags the voltage is an indicator of, now before you show that, oh, never mind. Before you show the answers, remember, we've talked about this many, many times. If you've ever seen that knucklehead on the webinars and stuff, you've seen that when it lags, right? We talked about that would mean if you're looking at how would you know that? You would look at your vectors, right? And the current would lag the voltage. So when they say a lagging load, that means you're always referring to the current, right? So that would mean that the current lags the voltage. So in a counterclockwise direction, actually, if you had A, which you normally use it as a reference on our vectors, so it's going to be sticking dead right at night. It's going to be at 0. The current will be below it, hanging down below it, like hands on a clock. So the current that lags the voltage is an indicator of A, a normal load, B, an inductive load, C, a capacitive load, or D, a purely resistive load.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Ray's
Ray.
pretty quick.
I don't know.
I think Joe answered.
I don't know. It makes me nervous. He's got a mask on and he's coughing over here. I'm just going to say, it's a new world. It's a new, brave new world. It's a brave new world.
I think it was Joe. Joe beat him first.
Did you buzz in first, Joe? You're going to have to turn up the volume on that buzz there, Joe. I'm just going to say.
Buzz, but
Okay.
Man. Should I call a friend?
Yes.
As long as it's
yes.
not Ray Gore.
No, go ahead and call a friend. Go ahead and do it. You can call a friend. We allow that one time, Joe, just one time.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Lord, I hope he's not tied up right now.
I believe you can get hold of it.
You're not calling John Jones, are you?
No.
No, he doesn't know.
Whoa, 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 that was a little bit too strong there, Joe. Wow, somebody's phone's going off here in the room.
No, I just grabbed it.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Ray needs to grab a call real quick. Go ahead. You may as well answer it, Ray.
Ray, did you just get a call from Joe Campbell?
Did you just get a call?
Support. This is great. Probably calling the queue.
Oh, that's funny.
He believed this.
He-
Not answering.
He's not answering the call. Yeah, he is.
Not answering the call.
Oh, there it is. It's ringing right now.
It won't ring this phone because they got it to my office.
Oh, they got it. We got it transferred over to his office. He's got it forwarded while he's here in the room.
B.
Well, without Ray, I mean, hey, you're kind of talking right now, so I think Ray could go ahead and help you right now and tell you. And then, what do you think, Ray?
B.
I called my friend Ray. He always answers his phone.
Yep.
You have to
Yep.
call, right? Give me a hand.
Ray says B.
B, okay, that's what I was leaning for.
Yep. Ray says B, an inductive load. And that's exactly right. You know, there was a time when, purely resistive went out the window, when we started getting more motors and stuff and just not, dead straight
Started
circuits.
going
So
to AC power.
that's right. But now, and then back in the day, you had a lot more capacitive loads. But now it's pretty much with all the motors and everything going on, these inductive motors.
Power
Now,
supplies.
and the supplies. So now it's pretty much almost everything's an inductive load. Very rarely. Now, if you have a capacitor bank on there, you can get in a certain situation where you're just getting off the capacitor bank, you're not getting anything off the actual line load, and it can look like a capacitive load. Isn't that right, Ray?
Yeah.
Just saying. And y'all thought it was just a pretty face. All right, here we go. Question number 6. CL on the face of the meter represents A, customer load, B, current lagging, C, current leading, or D, current rating. Was that a bark?
That's a tough one. I'll go ahead and bark.
What you
This
think there,
one-
Phil?
Well, this one's kind of tough, Art, because those first three, all those words start with CL, but I think the answer actually is current rating D.
I'm going to say you're right, Phil, because I'm going to think that if you look on the face of a meter, for instance, a transformer rated meter has CL20, so it's rated for 20 amps. So that would be CL on the face of the meter would be the current rating for that meter. You're exactly right.
I got one.
Nice one. That's one. You only need one more.
One more, I'm good for the day.
He'll put the duct tape up if he just get one
That's
more.
right. Hang up the duct tape.
Question number 7. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Well, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck how much a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. JP, I know you tried to throw me a curveball here, but don't you think they went over this in broadcaster school with me? I mean, this was one of those tongue-tied things we had to do just to make sure, yeah. Okay. Nice one, though. Only as much as ANSI allows. I like that. All of the wood 7. Or, as I said, should be D. There it is. A woodchuck chuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. There you go.
Confusing.
Number D. Number D. That was good.
Number 8.
Number 8. Question number 8. Phasors or vectors on a vector diagram represent A, voltage and resistance, B, current and capacitance, C, magnitude and direction, D, true north and ground. So let's think about this a little bit.
Some
We got
tough ones right there.
the phasors or vectors on a vector diagram. So you have a voltage and what? A current. vector for that phase are together. On the stuff that we use, it's red, yellow, blue. So you'd have a red voltage and current vector, a blue and a yellow. And so, so if you see them together, you know, then you don't have a cross phasing if the reds with the reds and the blues with the blues and the yellows with the yellows. Also, if they're swung around about 180 degrees, you got polarity reversal. But what are they actually measuring and representing? So we know that it's voltage and current, so you can throw A out. I'm going to say probably D, true north and ground. No, I'm not going to go with that one. So I'm down to B and C.
I'm gonna go. What do you say, Joe?
What you thinking, Joe?
Well, I'm thinking C. This really looks like a good engineering question to back me up.
I believe you're right on this one, Joe, because current and capacitance, no, we said it's voltage and current, so I think A and B, you had one each of the two right answers, but not, they could be a possible right answer. But more in a little more general sense, you got magnitude and direction, because remember, the length of the vector is the magnitude, right? So if you represented 20 amps on a vector versus 10 amps, the 10 amp vector would be half as long as the 20 amp vector. So magnitude for sure. And then direction, like we said, shows if you have 180 degrees out between them, then that would signify probably a polarity reversal. 120 out could be cross phasing. So yeah, magnitude and direction, absolutely, I would go with. So question number 9. The voltage on each side of a transformer is determined by, the wire gauge on each side of the transformer, B, the size of the transformer core, C, the wire turn ratio in the transformer, or D, the total resistance on the secondary side of the transformer.
Wow.
Oh, my.
This
All right.
This one's tough, Art.
I think this one's, this has got a lot going on here. So the voltage on each side of a transformer is determined by, so in other words, if you had a voltage transformer, right, or if you had any transformer for that matter, step up, step down. So on each side of it, right, you're going to have different values on each side of that transformer. So what determines the ratio or the difference between those two on either side? And I kind of gave it away a little bit, saying that. But you're just saying, how do you determine that? And it would be, what do you think, Ray? C. The wire turn ratio in the transformer. That's exactly right. So that would determine what you have on the primary versus the secondary side. You know that that's the ratio of that transformer, right? So the wire turn ratio in the transformer would determine the voltage on each side of that transformer.
Did
That's
Joe
a good
know
one.
that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
He did know that? Okay.
Joe
okay.
did know that
I was
one.
just checking. I didn't know if he buzzed in or not.
Remember now, loud buzz there, Joe. All right. Oh, no. We got the Green Hornet down there.
Yeah, we do.
We got the Green Hornet. There's a superhero down there in Lower Alabama. The Green Hornet is buzzing around. That was a good one. Yeah, you do it that way, and we'll hear you every time, Joe. Question number 10. Common problems with current transformers can include, that's CTs, right?
Yeah.
Polarity reversal, heat and resistance, the shunt is left in, all of the above. Oh, this could be a second one.
Oh, that was a close one. Do we have to go to the judge?
No.
Who's the tiebreaker?
Yeah,
All right.
You can do it.
All right. What do you think there?
Well, I'll go ahead and share with you. On this particular question, I've had to apply both duct tape and WD. And I know for sure that heat and resistance are major issues for CTs.
Exactly.
But I've heard a number of stories sometimes about a crew has gone out to do some work, and so they had to put the shunt in, and they did all their work, and they walked away, and maybe it was forgot to open it back up again.
That's right.
And so that means our CT's not really working as far as the meter's concerned the
That's
way
right.
we need it to. And the polarity reversal, you see, if you reverse the polarity, the CT still works. It's just that it's going the wrong way.
Yep.
So I think the answer is D, all of the above.
I'm going to go with Phil on this one. I'm going to go D,
with D.
all of the above.
How about that?
How about that?
That's 2 for me.
Boom, baby.
That's 2 for me.
All right.
I can hang up my duct
That's
tape.
what I'm saying. It's time for that nap. All right, now.
All right.
Now, whoa, go back one there, JP. Just talk for just 1 second about these. Okay, so we've always said on the webinars that heat and resistance are the two enemies of CTs, right? If you get them too hot, their accuracy starts going down. And remember, resistance is just burden when you're talking about CTs. So we've always said that's why we have burden ratings. That's why we test for burden. That's why we look for the burden to see how much burden's on there. If you can do a burden measurement, you can also add burden to the CT to the point where you can see a failure on it and see, is it right on the edge of failing? Have I got a lot of leeway here so you can add a lot of burden before it fails? So we know that heat and resistance definitely are in there. Then polarity reversal, of course, is if we wire those secondaries backwards on the secondary side of that CT, and then, of course, you'll, just to what Phil said, it'll still work. The problem is when you reverse that, it creates a negative power factor. And when you do that, the watts on that phase become negative watts. And when that happens, then you got positive, negative on the watts. And so you're going to lose, as we always say, you're losing 2/3 because the one positive, if they're balanced. Let's say you had 800 positive, and 800 negative, you have a total of 800 watts instead of 2,400 watts. So you're only billing 1/3 of what you should. So, yeah, not good at all.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the shunt is left in. Here's a little sidebar question. So if you left all the shunts in, well, no one could get any power, so you just see that right away, right?
No.
Yeah, actually, we ourselves have seen this in action, that you can leave the shunts in, and as long as something gets through, and something will get through, if that's the way it's initially installed, and someone doesn't know, then they're going to see, and they'll have an awful low load, and you're going to be underbilling incredibly, but you could actually get enough on there that you will get a bill for that customer. Now, when someone finds those, there's going to be a lot of crying and throwing of hats, and a customer is going to get some bad news because when you take those shunts out, his bill's going to go up a good bit. So, but it can happen and has happened. So the answer is definitely D, all of the above. Great job, Bill.
Hey, Art, I got a question about
Sure.
that heat and resistance, that burden measurement.
Yes, sir.
Is there a certain equipment that you can use to get burden measurement?
No, I don't think so. All right, the question number 11. Let's move on.
I think Joe knows a better answer than you do.
Yeah, I think Joe might know that one better. Whatever you do, don't look in the bottom right-hand corner of that slide. Whatever
Don't
you
do that.
All right. Question number 11.
I don't think so. That was good.
I don't think so.
Typically, transformers are used for both voltage and current, to compare the voltage and current, to calculate watts, to step down the voltage and current, to compare the power on each phase.
Another tough one.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Ray, are you okay?
There we go. Okay.
Joe, did you say something?
No. Did you buzz?
He did.
I buzz.
All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go for it, Joe.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb, but it's going to be a very low limb because it's going to be stepping down the
Yeah.
voltage in the current.
That's right.
But
I say C, I'm going to go with you on that one.
Yeah.
Now you got, well, let's go ahead and see the answer. I'm sure it's going to be C. That's right. Now you actually will calculate your, I mean, it does kind of help you calculate your watts, but in a more direct answer, it would be to step down the voltage and the current. And typically that's what we always use out here in our industry because we want less power at the bottom of the pole to make it safer for the guys. And so if we step it down, we also, all of the equipment can be smaller, right? If we left everything and didn't have any step-down transformers, either on voltage or current, we'd have to have some serious test switches down at the bottom of that pole. So, yeah, so C, to step down the voltage and the current. So you would step down the voltage with PTs and step down the current with CTs. Nice job, Joe.
thanks, sir.
Question number 12. A Form 9S electronic meter is good for how many amps? A, 50, B, 30, C, 200, or D, none of the above?
I think I heard Joe.
No, I didn't hear a buzz.
You
Did
didn't
you
hear a
buzz,
buzz?
Joe?
Guess not.
Buzz, buzz.
Oh,
Yeah,
there it
yeah,
is.
he did.
There it is. What you got, Green Hornet? What you think?
I'm thinking D.
You know, I'm going with you on this one, Joe. I think that a 9S electronic meter is not rated for that high an amperage of any of the other three choices. 50's too much, 30's too much. Just for bonus points, how much is it rated for there, Joe? A 9S meter. 20 amps. The man
is correct.
is a legend.
I
He
think
knows.
that's
exactly right.
Barbados.
He knows.
I think he's already
I think
bagging
he
his
is. I
bags
think
and
he's
getting that
on his
passport
way.
ready for beautiful Barbados.
He might actually be broadcasting from the airport already.
He may already be at the airport. The luggage is sitting
I see
beside
blue
him.
skies behind him. Look at that.
Oh,
He might be already there.
He's
look,
got
you
the
might
blue
be there
skies.
already.
Y'all still in blue skies, man.
That's nice.
70s today.
Is it really? Wow.
Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between Barbados and Lower Alabama.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it is.
But sometimes it isn't.
Sometimes it isn't. No. A lot of red hats down there in LA. With a big old white A on them. All right, here we go. Question number 13. What is the site multiplier for a 605 CT and a 2.5 PT? 120, 240, 300, or 600? So remember, when you're trying to do, if you have a site and you have both CTs and PTs there, then if to come up with the multiplier, right, we need to know we're going to have to get it to 1, right? Now, it's 1 on the PTs. So a rating on a PT, if it's 2 or 2.5, that's to 1. But the 600 to 5, we need to get it to something to 1, and then you can multiply the two together, right? So if you have a 600 to 5, 5 goes into 600 120 times, so it's 120 to 1. So you got 120 on the CT and 2.5 on the PT. So I'm thinking it's 120 times 2.5, which would be about 300, I think.
Buzz, buzz.
What you thinking, Joe?
About 300.
That's what I'm thinking, about 300.
Yeah.
Joey's right again.
Majored in broadcasting and minored in math. All right, so yeah, it would be 300. Question number 14. A 5S 3-wire open delta meter uses A, ground for a reference, B, DC power, C, special silver taps, and D, phase B for reference. I didn't know those meters danced. You got silver taps, huh?
Yeah, they got
Okay.
silver taps. I'm barking.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're going to go for 3?
I'm going for the bonus question.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm going wild on this one.
All right.
You see, Art, if I recall, a 5S...
Hold on, you got a chair? Let me sit down for
Yeah,
a
that's
minute.
right, that's right. A 5S meter is a little bit different, and it gives you kind of wonky looking vectors. And the reason it does that is it uses phase B for reference rather than ground for reference. So I'm going to go with D, phase B for reference.
Well, since you had to sling into some of those Clemson engineering terms like wonky, I'm
That's
going to
right.
go ahead. All right, I'm going to go with
And
phase
duct
B
tape.
as well.
And
duct tape.
WD.
Because if you notice on the equipment, this is what I'm going to say too. If you notice on the equipment, what's it going to tell you? It's going to say A to B and then B to C, right? It doesn't, when you look on there, normally you'll see your vector will say A and B and C separate. But when you see 2 phases on the same vector, it's telling you it's using one of those as a reference. Okay, so I'm going to say phase B for a reference. I'm with you on this one, Phil.
Yeah.
I like it. D, phase B for reference.
That
That's
makes
exactly
3
right.
for me.
Yeah.
I'm going crazy.
Oh my
You
goodness.
might be going to Barbados.
Wow.
I might be. Joe's going to have to step it up.
Wow, tell you what. Question number 15. Information found on a CT nameplate is test amps, meter form, acceptable voltage range, all of the above. Try and picture that nameplate on the front of that CT, and what does it tell
Let's
you?
see. Oh, we got one right behind us here. Let's see. Does that have test amps on it? Meter
Buzz,
form.
buzz.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I've looked at the media CT nameplates and I've never seen
it should be none of them.
I've looked at many of them, and test stamps that issue the rating of them, 605, it gives you burden information on that. And another thing it gives you is the voltage range. For the voltage, 600 volts,
Oh,
Let me ask you this, Joe. I got a quick question to ask you. If instead of CT that said meter, so information found on a meter nameplate is, what would the answer be?
all the above.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So instead of CT, I think it's supposed to say, yeah, there you go. It's supposed to say meter. So information found on a meter nameplate is, it has test amps, and that's represented by what on the face of that meter? What does it say on there, Joe? When you literally read it on the face of that meter, it says TA, right?
Test amps.
So it's going to say TA equals, like on a transformer rated meter, it would say TA 2.5. And that would tell you that the test amps are 2.5. And according to ANSI, they call that what? In the phantom load test, that would be your full load, right? So if for a transformer rated meter, if you saw TA 2.5, you would say, okay, then that means my full load's 2.5, and my light load would be, of course, a tenth of that, 0.25. And then also on the front of the meter, it says, and we got one right here. It just says form, right?
Yeah.
So it'll say form, and that'll be the meter form. And then the voltage range, why does it have range as part of that answer, Joe? Why does it just have the voltage?
Well, back in the old days of mechanical meters, you had a specific voltage that had to be applied to the, across the stator of the meter. 120 volts, 240 volts. And today, most of your meters, CT meters can operate from anywhere from 120 volts to 480 volts.
That is about as complete an answer as you could give. So back in the day, you had to have it was a specific voltage, but now we have these auto range or ranging meters now where they can go 120 to 480. That's exactly right. Because why, John? Well, one reason why is you got to stock less of them, right? So you wouldn't have,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, perfect. That was about as good as it gets right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That probably should have said none of the above.
Well, it should have said
If it
meter.
was a CT.
It should have said meter. Yep. Question number 16. The power factor is found, A, by angle between the sun and the earth, B, by cosine of the angle between phase A and phase C, C, by cosine of the angle between the voltage and its associated current on a given phase, D, dividing the voltage by the total watts in the meter side. Uh-oh.
I think I heard Joe.
No, I'd have heard his buzz buzz. He's got a new loud buzz buzz. I would have heard it.
He's got a new buzzer.
He's got a new buzzer now. He's the Green Hornet now. We'd heard it.
All
All right, Ray.
what
So
you
let's
got?
let's talk through this. What about A? I mean, at a solar site, would you say by the angle between the sun and the earth? Nope.
No.
Ray's shaking his head no. So not even at a solar site. Okay. B, by the cosine of the angle between phase A and phase C. So that would
It's
be
two phases.
that's between two different phases.
Yeah.
But so a power factor isn't between two phases. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And then C, by the cosine of the angle between the voltage and its associated current on a given phase.
Yeah.
You liking that one?
Yep, I like that.
Okay, the professor's head's going up and down on that one. And then D, dividing the voltage by the total watts in the meter side. No, so C would be correct because it is going to be the same. It's going to be the two associated with one another. So when you're looking on the screen and you're looking at your vectors, it would be the two vectors of the same color. The angle between those two, it's the cosine of that. And we know that a cosine, the larger the angle, if you take the cosine of it, the smaller the number becomes. So when you do that, you get a great big angle between both of the vectors on the same phase. You get a small number. And what's bad about that is, remember how we determine the watts that gets all of us paid. Voltage times current times power factor. When you multiply by a little number, you end up with a little number. So we are now losing more power than we should. So we need to do something to that site so we get paid what we need to get paid. Question number 17. Standard current transformers are most accurate, A, at the bottom 10% of rated load, B, between 90 and 100% of rated load. C, once they are overheated. D, between 100% to the rating factor of the nameplate current.
Lots of CT questions today, Art.
Lots of CT,
Yeah.
and this one's kind of got,
This one's kind of tricky.
This one is tricky. I can see maybe more than one answer being kind of right. So I'm anxious to hear what the fellas got to say about this one.
I'm gonna say.
Standard current transformers are most accurate. Standard.
All right.
Well, we know a standard transformer at the bottom 10% of rated load, so we know that's not gonna be it, because it's not an extended range CT.
That's exactly right.
Non-extended range.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you throw out A,
Yeah.
right? Because we remember on the bathtub curve that if you're
Well-
less than 10%, right? If you're less than 10%, not good. We always say if you underload a CT. That's why when we're using those flexes, which are really just a flexible CT, right? If you can, you double wrap to pump twice as much current through them so you get them up in that sweet spot up farther in that bathtub curve, right? Okay?
You know what, Art? Another thing I'm thinking is I've always heard you say that heat is an enemy of CTs. So I think I can rule out C.
Yeah.
Was that Art or that weird guy?
Well, actually, I think it's that knucklehead that does those webinars. But I will say that I'm sure his heart is warmed that you heard that and you actually remembered it, because you're exactly right. Remember we said earlier on that other question, heat and resistance or burden are enemies of CTs. So we know we can throw C out as well, because once they're overheated, the accuracy is going to start going down fast.
Now I got two more things here, though, Art.
All right.
One of them is I think I heard Joe in there trying to buzz while, we were talking.
Did you buzz, Joe?
I was champion, go ahead.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to see if Joe can wrap this up. I've heard he knows about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
I think the key to the question is most accurate.
Right, most. That's the
Most
key word.
accurate.
Right.
So I'll let Joe wrap this up here. We're down to B and D here.
What you think, Joe? B or D?
I'm going with D.
You're going with D. Between 100% to the rating factor of the nameplate current. Well, I think that D is showing as the answer. I think that the only thing that might throw somebody would be the word standard. I think it's standard current transformer. But definitely, when you're seeing if you're upping up the rating factor on it, for sure, between 100% to the rating factor of the nameplate, because as we've seen, it actually gets better in some cases, which is kind of crazy. But that's these
You want to
crazy
stay
new
in the sweet
CTs.
spot of the bathtub curve.
That's right. These are these crazy new CTs, so these high accuracies and everything. So here we go. So between 100% to the rating factor of the nameplate current. Nice. Never doubted you, Green Hornet. If the CT is installed backwards, oh my.
That doesn't happen, does it?
Hold on, I'm trying to cross all my fingers and toes and my eyes and say, no, never. Well, that made me dizzy. Okay, so, no, let's see. If the CT is installed backwards, A, you will see polarity reversal on the secondary side. B, the meter registration will not test correctly. C, the meter will not come on. Or D, the CT ratio test will be correct. So if the CT is installed backwards, let me just ask you guys something. Is that a problem? We always talk primary and secondary. Is that now a primary problem or a secondary problem? If you've watched that knucklehead on the webinars, he says that if you get the CT installed backwards, luckily the stuff he's using to test with has that button to toggle to take a look at the primary current, right? And when he can look at the primary current, he can find a problem on the primary side, which is that's the CT turned backwards and not the secondary side being wired backwards, which would be polarity reversal. So you will see polarity reversal on the secondary side. I would throw that one out because that would be wiring those terminals backwards, right? That's what I'm thinking. The meter registration will not test correctly. I believe that whatever the meter sees, it just tests, right? So whatever the meter sees, it just checks the accuracy on that. So you could still get a good meter test, even have that CT backwards. It might run slower,
Meter
but it
registration
would.
on that test range.
C, the meter will not come on.
No, I don't believe that.
Wait, oh.
It takes
CT's now, it'll
voltage.
come on.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
it
voltage,
will
'Cause
come
it's,
on.
it's still getting current, even if it's
I mean,
backwards.
I
It
think
takes
it will.
voltage to power up the meter.
So now remember, you will not, so from what we're saying here through deduction here, we're saying that D through the process of elimination, because I've heard that knucklehead more than once. That guy drives me crazy, by the way. But anyway, the secondary always follows the primary, right? So when you see that polarity reversal and you see that the current problem, it's seeing a problem different from primary to secondary. So if you toggled, you would see the primary would look fine as far as the vectors, but when you toggled over and looked at the secondary, you'd see polarity reversal and you'd see a problem. But if you have both the primary and the secondary are both wrong and they follow one another, then you will not see that 180 degrees out, will you? You won't see polarity reversal. So you'll be able to test that sucker, and that's why that guy, like I said, over and over, he says that. If you first pull up there and you're going to test, take a look at the primary side, just for grins and giggles, because if that's where your problem is and you just test the secondary side, you could go on to the next one and miss something. All right. Question
Go ahead. No.
Question number 19. True or false? Power theft is a small problem since we have solar powers now. Yeah, that sun is pretty reliable. So
I'm pretty sure we don't have to worry about theft anymore, do we?
no, not with solar panels now, because who's going to steal from the sun? You'd be able to catch them quick. Lots of bandages on their hands.
That's right.
So
We know who it is.
big band-aids, lots of ointment. All right, so we got. So power theft is a small problem since we have solar panels now. Did I hear you buzz in there, Joe?
Well, whenever it comes to power theft, solar panels make no difference.
That's right. I would think that if you're going to steal it, you're going to steal it, and the solar powers aren't going to stop you. Yep. True or false? I would say that it's false.
Yeah.
Joe is correct.
Joe's right again.
Get out the suntan lotion, Joe.
That's right.
Yeah, he's
we're
headed to
closing in
Barbados.
on the end here, and he's got a pretty substantial
Oh,
lead.
Barbados is looking good for Joe Campbell.
They might need
I already
a.
got started on my tan yesterday.
Yeah.
He's going to be ready when he gets there.
Yeah. He's already practicing.
You already been fake baking. You already been in one of those machines. You've been fake baking, hadn't you? Don't
baking.
lie. You've been in there cooking. Question number 20. True or false? As technology improves, the electrical loads are becoming more and more purely resistive. A, true. B, false. We kind of talked about this earlier about the different loads there.
I kind of want to take this. I'm a little bit scared, though, Art, because, I've already answered 3 correctly.
That is true.
I don't know if I can get 4.
You know what though, Phil?
Brother.
You want me to go for it? You think
I think
can
you ought to go
brother,
for
do
it.
it.
You
All
can
right,
do
all
it.
right.
there,
Well,
brother.
I've
All right.
applied the duct tape and I've applied the WD to this, and here's what I found out.
Uh-oh.
Whoa, no.
As technology is improving, we're using electricity in more and more different ways. We got all these flat screens and computers and cell
Yep.
phones and power switching supplies and going from AC to DC, all kind of stuff going on. And I don't think it's just purely resistive anymore. I'm going to have to say that it is false that it is becoming more and more purely resistive.
I believe you're right. None of those ones you just described are resistive loads.
Yeah.
So I would say that the answer would be false. And according to the big red slash through true, I think we're right. So I'm going to say B, false, is the correct answer. Because actually we're getting more and more inductive, I believe.
More inductive, I believe, yeah.
Question number
Oh,
21.
bonus questions.
Oh, bonus questions.
Oh, the
Hey.
bonus round.
Hey, bonus round, Joe. These are the ones we like the best.
That's
Bonus
right.
round questions. True or false? Only the meters should be tested at any particular meter site. True, the meters are improving. B, true, only the meter is what matters. C, false, everything should be tested except for the meter. D, false, there could be problems the meter cannot detect.
I think I already heard Joe buzzing in right from the start.
I guarantee
Yeah.
you Joe was buzzing. What you got, Joe?
Well, I've heard of a utility at one time, they would just go up to strictly test the equipment. And that's what they started out doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
But they
then there
found
was this
something.
younger
Mm.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, well, lo and behold, one of the first ones we went to,
Was a
we
bad
tested the meter, and it tested slow. You can bring it up.
About 50%?
Well, yeah, about 50%.
I think I know this gentleman.
Okay, it's right at 50%. Man, I done something wrong is what he was thinking. So he tested again. Well, I mean, this guy's told me that he spent like a half a day at this site because he was convinced that he was doing something wrong because he's coming in right at 50%. You know, that was really strange.
Mm-hmm.
And so-
Sorry to interrupt, Joe, but was this a good-sized customer? So we're talking about,
Oh, yeah.
oh, okay, good-sized customer?
Oh, yes, yes.
Uh-oh.
It was. So we got a meter off with his truck, plugged it in, and tested it. Tested 100%.
Mm.
So I'm gonna say the answer would be false. Everything should be tested. One minute, except for the meter. No, we need to test everything.
Yes,
Yep.
I agree, Joe.
Yep,
I agree.
everything's, that's right. There could be problems the meter cannot detect. So this guy, we will let the name go, we'll just leave them anonymous. Anyway, so this guy, let's just pick a state. Let's get crazy and pick, how about Alabama? What if this guy was in Alabama? So this guy uses what the knucklehead always says is he always defaults to John. So this guy defaulted to whatever his name is. And he just thought that it was something he had done wrong. Yeah? Oh, yeah. And actually, that is, honestly, that is the good first choice, is make sure it's something you didn't do wrong.
Check yourself.
Check yourself. You could put in one of those flexes in backwards. That's easy to do when you get up in a really, if it's a really busy transformer pad mount, you're getting up there trying to wrap it around. Or you may grab an extra wire or extra something in there. So, yeah, I always, that guy's always, I've heard him say it a million times, he always defaults to himself first. And then he checks all that first before he actually says there might be a problem at the site. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hey, Art, I got a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Should you, whenever you exchange a meter like that, let's say you're at a site, discover there's a problem with the meter, whenever you're testing,
Mm-hmm.
you exchange the meter, should you test that new meter?
Yes, in the socket, yes. The new meter should be tested before you carry it out there. So, because I carried a test meter with me, so what I would do is I would test that meter that I have, that I call it a test meter or whatever. And what you would do is I'd write down a date the last time I actually tested the meter, and then I can carry it on my truck. And then, so when I ran into situations like that, I would put that meter in, and if it tests good, I know that that meter's bad.
You know, that's just smart thinking right there, because if you think about, what if you got a bad batch of meters? You could grab one meter and just grab it and throw it in there and go, uh-oh, yep, gotcha. Makes a lot of sense, and you can keep track of when, because it's kind of like, I guess, calibration of equipment, right, Ray?
Yeah.
So you just want to know, and also if anyone ever asks, you can say, no, if you're using that as your comparison, you could say, and I know this was good on X date, right? All makes sense. Question number 22, another bonus. This is awesome. Bonus question. Good safety practice before pulling a meter includes A, double check all your connections and or bypasses. B, stand to the side of the meter. C, take a deep breath and hold it. D, all of the above. Uh-oh.
What you got, Joe?
Uh-oh.
What you got, Joe?
Well, let's go down through it. You should always double check your connections, your bypass.
Yep.
You know, I see something heating up, without
Yeah.
looking, you gotta pull that meter, you gotta mark low,
Yeah.
then you gotta wire something hanging at the meter base. You never want to stand right in front of the meter.
That's
You always
correct.
want to stand by.
Why is that, Joe?
Well, if you do have an arc or something, the flash that comes out, you're not gonna be in the direct path of it. You're gonna be off to the side.
And in really serious, where you got a lot of power and it's really bad, it can actually become a projectile, can it, coming out of there? So, yep, that's good advice. Don't stand, stand aside, don't stand in front of it. What about C?
And, you know, it was just a couple of years ago that I learned about C. And I've been in the electrical field by a tire line.
Right?
But breath and hold it. And the reason why we do this is if you do get that explosion, and you have taken that deep breath and hold it, the first thing you're gonna do is go and
inhale, yeah.
Up in all that hot gas. So
That's exactly right.
you're going to the hospital with some bad lungs.
And some bad burn.
That's exactly right. See, before that, Joe just took a deep breath and held it when we wanted to get an extra vacation day. So
That's right. That's
I'll
right.
hold my breath till I turn blue if you want me to have Friday off. That's right. So yeah, if you will, it's not even, it's a reaction. It's something you can't help. You will suck in air.
Yeah.
When if you get an arc flash, if it blows up, the first thing you do, it's part of that being surprised and shocked, and you don't even realize you're doing it, and then it's too late. So that's exactly right. So D, all of the above. Great job, Joe. My goodness, another one. I'm loving this. Question number 23. In electrical situations, PPE is only necessary. What is PPE?
Personal protective equipment.
I just wanted, JP was a little faster on the trigger. I just wanted to get PPE. Okay, what did we say PPE is?
Personal protective equipment.
Personal protective equipment. Got it. So that would be what? Most of the time when we say PPE, what are we talking about?
About your rubber gloves and your leather gloves and your face
Safety
shields
glasses.
and your helmet. And,
Safety boots,
And-
oh yeah, you got to get
FR
your
clothing.
FR
That's right, FR
clothing.
clothing.
Exactly right. Okay. So in electrical situations, PPE, all of that clothing and shields and glasses and hard hats and gloves is only necessary, A, if it's DC power, B, on the hottest day of the year and there's no water to be found. That's not a good recipe right there. I'm just saying. Down in lower Alabama, that's not good. If the boss is looking, that's right. D, at all times.
Buzz, buzz,
Buzz, buzz.
buzz, buzz.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. Say C.
Well,
Go ahead and say C, Joe.
Joe is the boss.
all honest, back in the younger days, y'all have to remember, I worked construction for years, and back in the 70s and 80s, you know, there's some PPE out there, but you mainly put it on whenever the boss was looking. or the
Yeah,
safety
that's true. Back in the
man.
days. it
When
was.
the safety man was coming around. That's right.
But, you know, you get older, you get wiser. It's good to have that stuff on all the time, all
Yeah.
the time.
That's right.
That's right.
Not just whenever that safety man's coming by, because let's face it, you're not gonna be doing nothing whenever he's watching.
Nope.
Nor
Yeah.
doing anything when the boss is looking.
That's right.
Mhm.
Whenever the back's turned is when you're actually doing something, that's when it happens.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Get your-
Yeah, I
And
started.
Joe,
Go ahead.
and Joe, if an accident happened, what's one of the first questions that's going to be asked?
Did you have on
Was
your
everybody wearing their
PPE?
PPEs?
That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
Yep. I guarantee you that's on the form. When they have to fill out an accident report, I guarantee you they're going to ask if they were wearing their proper PPE. Because I know I started working really, really young and out at chemical plants and stuff, and I can assure you when and they knew, and they would let you know when the safety man was coming through. You never saw so many hard hats, safety glasses, everybody's respirator was where they were supposed to be.
Right.
Everybody looked good when the safety man was coming through. Okay, question number 24. Harmonics are A, the beautiful sound of two voltages working together. I already like that one, just reading it. The beautiful sound of two voltages working together. B, a multiple of the fundamental frequency. Ooh, C, good to play with a banjo. D,
Or campfire?
not really anything to worry about in our electrical system. Since Joe's in Alabama, I'm not going to make any jokes about C. I'm leaving that one alone. I'm not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
That's Louisiana, but that.
Easy now.
I'm
Easy.
not touching that.
No.
He threw that out there.
Besides, that would be a French horn. Oh, thank you very much. watch them here all week. Okay. So harmonics are I just like reading that, the beautiful sound of two voltages working together. Or B, a multiple of the fundamental frequency. C, good to play with a banjo. Or D, not really anything to worry about in our electrical system. Who wants to take a shot?
I'm gonna say B.
So how you eliminating the other ones there, Ray?
Beautiful sound of two voltages working together. HCR.
No. Nice, nice. And then
not,
C.
Not good to play with a band. Well, no, I mean,
You never
See,
know.
that's
If there was an A in there, yeah, if there was harmonicas, yeah, I could see it. And then not really anything to worry about in our electric system. Now, actually on D, we are hearing more and more about it, but it's more and more coming to the forefront because we have some folks at Powermetrix that are on the board committees and stuff like that. They're on committees rather. So I know that's coming up. They've been talking about it a long time of wanting to test with some of these squared off crazy looking sine waves. So no, I don't think you say that. But how do you know maybe a multiple of the fundamental frequency? Because it's a repeating thing, isn't it? It isn't a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So just like the sine wave, it's a repeating thing. So when it says a multiple of the fundamental frequency, yeah, it's a repeating thing there. So I'm with you. I'm going with Ray on this one. I'm going B. The professor's right again.
He never misses.
I'm telling you. Question number 25.
leading to that one, huh?
True or false? It is important to consider the impact of going green on our electrical grid. I think we need to consider that even more today.
Yeah.
True or false? It is important to consider the impact of going green on our electrical grid.
Do we hear you down there, Joe?
Yes, I'm just thinking about, the big ice storm and all that we just come through, so yeah, that's gonna be true, we do need to think about the impact of going green on our electrical grid.
Didn't they have a lot of those big wind turbines freezing up down there, Joe?
Yeah,
That's what I
but
hear.
what was kind of ironic, I actually saw a picture, you brought this up, Art, not me, but I saw a picture of a helicopter that was powered by fossil fuels, spraying a chemical on the windmill blade that was made from fossil fuels, and the windmill itself was produced with fossil fuels.
The blades were made with fossil fuels, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, so evidently the whole going green thing wouldn't have really helped a whole lot. Well, to save the day, they actually had to bring in some of that old fossil fuel stuff, didn't they, to get it to work?
Yeah, and then, they were saying like to charge some of your battery powered cars, costing like $18, all of a sudden it jumped up to $1,900, so, that is lots to consider.
Yes.
It's going to make a difference.
It is definitely important to consider the impact of going
The
green.
demand is going higher and higher.
Absolutely.
But then, we all have to build our system and, just keep going green in mind.
That's right.
We got to pair with it's not when it's down.
That's right. I think we're noticing, to what you're saying, Joe, I think we're noticing a lot with the solar and stuff. So I think we're noticing a lot of trying to go with solar and the wind. And I know it really surprises me because I've heard stories from the other guy. And he tells me that when he's been up in the Northeast, even places where you wouldn't think you'd see a lot of it, there are a lot of solar farms. I think he saw that Massachusetts was actually one of the states that had more. They were right up there with everybody as far as solar farms a while back. So
Wow.
you would think it would just be out in Arizona or somewhere like that, No, they're starting to put them in everywhere. So now we've got a bonus question, I suppose. Okay, true or false? Ray Gore can be stumped.
Ooh.
True? True, but he might twist your head off for doing it. C, true, but only on Dancing with the Stars. D, false. Well, we don't even have to, you know what my answer is on that one. I'm going to go.
Always defer to Ray, I think is.
That's what I'm saying. So if, I'm going to go D. Ray Gore is a genius. I think we even have
There
that.
There it is.
I knew there was something coming up
Yes,
with that.
indeed.
That's
Nice.
right. That's it. It was a
Very
setup.
nice. Very nice.
Yeah, they were setting me up.
And it wasn't Michael Jackson.
It
Yeah,
wasn't.
no.
That's right. I like that. That's nice right there, boy.
Okay, you can take the picture down.
You can take the picture. Yeah, that was like earlier. No. Well, I guess that's going to be it for the last of these. Please go ahead and register on the. If you'll go in there and register, you can. We got some really good. These presentations are really good. We're going to work with the folks on them, and we're going to have some actual. Hopefully, we'll have some products in here. We've asked them to send some stuff in so we can take a look at them. Of course, we probably won't get any from Terry all the way from Australia, but it's going to be interesting to see what they're doing out there. But if you will go ahead and register on these and tune into these, you're going to get to see some other stuff from other folks, and it all affects us and what we do. So the metering, CTs, PTs, and power quality, and all that affects when we're out there doing our testing. So I just really appreciate my guys here. Really appreciate the guests like Joe, and we have Joe Childs, and Daryl Snow. So we really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for volunteering and being involved in this. And I got to admit, I'm kind of looking forward to not having to wear the wig anymore. But it itches like a son of a gun. I'm just going to tell you all. But anyway, we just really appreciate everybody, the participation, but also just everybody be safe out there, all right? And hopefully there's something you maybe learned off of this, so just get you home safe, and that's the most important thing. All right, so all y'all be safe out there. God bless, and thank y'all a lot.